Everyone's Z. Hope everyone's good tonight. Sorry there's no beautiful ocean backdrop, but I wanted to continue on this topic that we're on. And sometimes when I shoot videos and I'm done, I'm like, shit, I forgot to leave all. So there's so much I forgot to put in that I left out. There's a lot, there's so much, there's so many, we're getting so many downloads a day, all of us that are in this, because everything is accelerating so very fast. And I refer, as you know, in my videos, a lot of stuff to my history in fighting, and I'm going to talk about when I fought Muay Thai. My instructor had a way he taught us, and that is we set a pace and we never move our pace. We move in and we stay methodical. We never back up. We don't let the other person dictate our speed and control us. We have to control it. We control our pace and we stay on our game plan, and we don't move off of it. And there's so much acceleration going on right now with everything. It's you gotta be careful that we don't get caught up in a state of panic because so many things are happening. This thing, the whole thing that's coming down, everything's coming down to is and I want to just clarify this because I don't want people to get tired of hearing it. This attack on our divine feminine, it's always been an attack, but it's just so important to know this isn't a battle between men and women. It isn't saying that all men are bad and all women are good. That's not it at all. I've seen women do shit men would never dream of doing. I've seen meanness that is, I would have never thought. I could never do something that mean. So it's not a battle between men versus women. It's two energies. And we start, I guess the basis, or what my wife would say, Todd, you got to get to the root of this problem. You got to get to the root of the problem. Well, I did, but when I got to the root, I found out really what the problem wasn't the root, it was the seed that produced the tree that produced the root. And I think that is where you really get to what is the cause of all the psychopathy, all the pain, all the suffering, all the hurt, all the trauma, everything that's in this world that's evil and wicked comes from one seed. And that's what I want to talk about. We're getting really, we're getting down to we're pulling it back to this is where all hurt and all trauma comes from, is a bad seed. So we start in creation with, we know about Barbello. She's the mother, father. She is capable of something called parthenogenesis, and she can produce, she doesn't need the man. So she produces in a symbiotic relationship with source, which is male and female, and they do everything together. It's a perfect love, and now this perfect love, they produce the child is us, and that's the basis. So we start with her, and you could say, use the cosmic egg if you need to, but we start with her, and she's perfection, and she's love and everything. Somewhere down this line, something happens, and we have a bad player, a bad entity that comes in the picture and takes her, let's say her egg, takes her, either it be spiritual or it's a physical rape that takes place, where she produces an unwanted pregnancy. And this entity that comes from this is where all evil comes from. And we know in the Gnostic story, his name is Yaldabaoth, or Sakaloth, or Samael, as he's called. He goes down the line to become Amun-Ra, or was it the Enlil or Enki, one of those two fuckers. I heard someone today, I've always thought it was Enlil that was bad, but I don't know. Or it's Jehovah, or Baal. So anyway, Yahweh. This is this entity they call the Demiurge, the fashioner, creator of this world. So what this guy has done, this entity, is taking her perfection and her energy and her source and coming into it and merged with it and produced, you could say, us. And so to learn that all of psychopathy, all the things that men battle with, why men do what they do, it's because really of one thing. And it's not kicking the blame back to our parents. That's not it at all. It's a bad entity. This goes back to the Star Wars movies, which I never liked those freaking things. I only ever saw, I think the first one, maybe, I don't know if I saw the second one or not growing up, but it was okay. But in that story, there's a scene, I've gone back and looked at it, where the Luke Skywalker character, which you consider to be us, wants to save the queen, or the princess, right? Princess Leia. And something personal with her. Anyway, it's the archetypal story of us always saving her because she's been captured by the evil asshole Darth Vader. And what Luke has to do is go rescue her. And in rescuing her, he's got to take this entity on when he discovers that this entity is actually his father. And in that very iconic scene where he takes his sword thing and he whacks Darth Vader and he's laying there dead, and it's a dream that Skywalker has. And he reaches over and he's shaking and he pulls the mask off Darth Vader and he sees himself. And Lucas knows something. Okay, he knew something when he made whoever wrote this stuff. That is the true battle that's taking place. It's him in us. This Archon, this ruler Demiurge guy, Abraxas, some people call him. But that is what we're fighting against. And that is why we have all the problems we have in this world. He is the progenitor of all the evil. And men have a larger share of this fucker in us, but so do women. And women, it comes out in them and their narcissism, and they could be mean too. It doesn't mean that, oh, well, the mother's bad too. No, it comes from him. And we get down to the root of the problem. With the root of the problem, the root is a tree. The tree comes from a seed, and the seed is him. And that is what we're all battling, because we are, you can almost say we're hybrid beings, because we have us in him. And this goes into explain why does God, what we call God, everyone calls God, why does God not come and help us? Well, I'm going to ask you something. Why don't you put yourself in those shoes for a moment? You're the mother, okay? Or let's just say you're a parent and you have a daughter, and your daughter goes out with some guy and you warn her not to do it. Don't do it, baby. He's going to break your heart. He's bad news. He's bad dude. Don't do it. Well, she only wants to do it more now. And so she ends up doing the naughty with him, and she gets knocked up, or he rapes her, one or the other, and she gets pregnant. And she gives birth to this child. You're the grandparent, or you say you're even her. What do? Do you abort? Do you destroy the child after it's been born? When you realize how this thing is out of control, it's bad, what do? Could you kill your own child? You have a problem. You have a bad problem. It's really a family matter, if we think about it. So what is she supposed to do? She's tried everything. She's tried to correct the problem. And every time, like Sophia tries to correct the problem of this thing, it, like I said before, it only exacerbates and gets worse. So what if we read the true creation story? What we find out what happens is Barbello, the mother of all, she is in the monad. She can't leave that realm. And she's looking for us. She's looking for those of us who recognize what's going on here. They can look at themselves and say in the mirror, I got a problem. I got a bad daddy in me. And do something about it. And as you'll read the story in the true creation story, I don't know if it's in the Tritate. It's in one of the, you got to go back. I'll try to find which book it is. Sometimes you get overwhelmed with this information. But we read the story where Barbella looks down at one of Yaldabaoth's children, and his name is Sabaoth. And Sabaoth learns that his daddy is a complete fuckface, and he's had it with him. And his feminine counterpart, who knows who this is, but he curses them both. He wants nothing to do with them. He recognizes they're complete fuck-offs. And Barbello looks down and says, So what she does is she takes Sabaoth and she raises him above Yaldabaoth and puts him in a realm above him. And Yaldabaoth loses his fucking mind. He fucking goes off on this, that one of his offspring down here has realized what a piece of shit he is. And then the mother above of all living, up there in the highest realm, takes little Sabaoth and puts him in a realm above his and gives him a kingdom and a castle and all this greater than the one Yaldabaoth has. And that is what she is looking for in us. She's looking for us that recognize he's the problem. We have to identify it because he's in us. And so we've got to purge that out of us. And that's where it comes to process of purgation. And you've heard Almond talk about this, what is called burning off your mortality. You've got to get that shit out of you. And it comes through a process called purgation, or suffering, cleansing through a long suffering. And you've got to understand the role that we play and take responsibility, whether we like it or not, who we are. We've got him in us. And he's got to go. It's the only way we correct this thing. What is she supposed to do? Shoot a lightning bolt out of her booty and blow us all up? I mean, she is the earth. She's giving us life. And someone asked me in the comments, I'm sorry if I have a little mind's blank for a moment, how do we get the power? How do we do this? I'll tell you, it's so simple. It's not how do you get it. You already have it. You've always had it. You just have to unlock it. She's not going to allow you or give you that power and unleash that in you so you can continue doing the same thing your daddy's done. And you will be tested, and you will fucking fail more times than you succeed to get through this. And it's hard. But she's not going to give you power to turn around and make the situation worse, because that's what continues to happen. And like I said before, when she does step in and help us, what fucking good does it do? We give credit back to him as if she doesn't ever exist. You think about that for a minute. If that was you, and you had children, and these children were taken from you, and they live with other parents in another world somewhere else. They don't even know you ever existed. Not only do they not know you or that you are their mother, they're being told that you are the evil entity that has destroyed everything. So not only do they has he taken her children from her, but he has convinced them, you and us, that she is the evil one. If that's not a fucking bastard, I don't know what is. And that's the basis of all of this. And let me tell you, I want to go into the trauma loop, and I want to do a whole video on that and explain how that works. And I told a story, it's on one of the BitChute videos over there. I'm going to do it a different way tonight. The trauma loop. A woman, let me think for a minute. How do I tell you this? Let's do this example tonight. I'm going to do the big one in another video because it's extremely heavy where we can dedicate it to. Let's just say a dude, he sees this girl that he likes, and she's smoking hot, but he's a little hook nose, and he's a little shit, and she has any interest in him. So he notices that at night when she leaves, let's say, her job, and she walks past these stores to get to her car, he devises a way where he gets these men, he hires them to attack her. And so he has the whole thing set up. So she's walking back to her car, and these men come and they start attacking her. And he rushes in, it's all scripted, and he beats the shit out of them, and they are all busted up, and he kicks them, and they go running off, and he saves her, and she's like, oh my God, I never knew a little curly-haired hook nose like you little squirt shit, could beat all these men up. You're amazing, and blah, 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 blah. And I don't know what to say. I owe you my life. You saved my life. He's like, well, and he eats it up, and he ends up being her savior. But what she doesn't know, he's the little fucking pussy that caused the whole thing to happen so that she would think that he's some superhero savior, and he's not. And that's the way this entity works. He causes trauma in all of our lives. He builds this world in this realm where there's traps and temptation, and he makes it where you give into this shit and your life turns to crap, and then he shows up as the savior, putting you in the trauma loop. And that is what they use the Jesus icon character for. He destroys your life, he does the horrible things to you, and then he shows up as your savior because he died on a cross for you. And he took all that beating and all that whipping to pay for all your bad shit, which you never did in the first place. It was all him that did it. And that puts you in the trauma loop. So when these channels are on YouTube with certain persons, which I'm trying so hard not to call out, and they bring these women on here that are all victims of SA, of abuse, and they cry, but I found Jesus and Jesus saved me, and they run you right back in the trauma loop. And it just, oh boy, it's all I can do is that the stories need to come out. But how horrible is it going to be for these girls, these women, to go through all they went through, all the trauma, the rape, the abuse, the torture, and all the shit that they've had, to turn around and realize that they give themselves right back to the same entity that's done this to them. And they leave this world and they found out that they got tricked and they're put right back in here again to go through another reincarnation loop trauma event. And it just never ends. That's how psychofuck works. We didn't sin against God, God sinned against us. The thing we call God, this creator. When he said, I am God, there is no other, blah, blah, blah. That's when he sinned against all creation, when he did that. We're not the problem, he's the problem. But unfortunately, he is in us, and we've got to work that out. Jung calls it the dark night of the soul, and all this shit. Really what it comes down to is, first of all, recognizing who the creator, the real creator is. It's her. She's our divine feminine mother. She is the mother, father of all living. This thing has come in, and this is our war and our battle. And why the creator of all does not come down here and do this, because she can't. She's a mother, and she gives love. It's up to us to recognize that so that she can elevate us and bring us up to a realm above his, and then we take care of business. I don't know how more simple to make this as where the evil comes from and why our creator's not helping. She is. She's calling out. I'm going to stop it there tonight. The trauma loop, we're going to go deep into it. How he creates this continual loop of trauma, and how the church is there and their role in it, and how they're selling this entity to you to keep you in this loop. Your pastors are as rotten as any fucker on this earth. What they are doing is so horrible. And not only that, but we're running the cover for all the child trafficking, and you know who's doing it, and we're funding it, we're running cover for it, and we're protecting a country where these people live, where it all, with our money and our worship, and oh, God damn it, it's just, that's the first thing we do. This is not hard war to win. It's not. It's super simple. Anyway, the trauma loop, I want to go deep into it. I want to go into this thing that's going on with TD Jakes and Puffy, and how all this shit ties together. This Elon Musk thing, it all ties together. But first recognize that it's not about men against women, or women against men, or all men are evil and all women. It's not that. It's that seed that's in all of us that we have to deal with. And some of them are more pure-blooded in that bloodline, what they call the 13 bloodlines. And these people are complete psychopaths. Anyway, I really wanted to get that out. I think that gives us a basis for understanding what the fuck is going on and how we fix this fucking problem. And it starts with us. Anyway, I love everybody. I'm out.